Hi, I'm Vanessa and welcome back to Ellie and Mac. And today I'm excited. Today is trouser week. So if you've been teetering on the edge of whether to start this capsule with me, this week is going to be what is going to tip you over the edge. So trousers have been in capsules for a very long time, but right now they're very popular. So normally you want to have a solid pair of trousers as well as one with a pattern, but they have came into day wear and I am so excited about it. So last week I showed you the ones I thrifted from Banana Republic, and I have to say the ones I sewed are even better. I actually had time to sew yesterday, but not to actually film the intro. And I actually sewed all three of these in one day. They are so easy and they look so good, you're gonna be shocked. So let's get started. I'm gonna actually give you an intro to each pants and let you know why you should be sewing them. Okay, all right. So our first pants today is for the leggings lover. I don't want to take that out of your style if that's something that you find so easy to pair with all your clothes. So what I did was I took the joggers and I made those into a pair of trousers that had deep jogger pockets. I also made sure that the elastic was nice and fitted, and I added ties that I finished nicely. I took off the cuffs and made them a little bit longer so you can wear them with any shoe. I also picked the ultimate soft fabric. So let me show you how I made these. So to make sure these pockets fit my phone, I first traced out my phone and then a 1/2 inch from the bottom of my paper. Now after I traced it out, I decided that a 6-inch pocket would be perfect. Plus I added 2 inches to the top. Now where that corner meets at the edge, I go from right there and I trace out the side of my pants so the pocket fits in perfectly. Now this waist of these pants dip quite a bit more than I would like them to for what I'm doing today. So I actually increased the dip in the pants by 2 inches. After I do that, I'm going to cut out this pocket with scissors. So the pattern piece we have now is the one that's going to be showing on the top side of your pocket. Now we need the one for the inside that your hand fits in. So I'm going to measure my hand and it's 5 inches. So I fold down this piece of paper 5 inches, and this is both pieces of my pattern that I'm going to use to make these pockets. And then I start cutting out my pattern like I normally would, increasing the rise of these pants. And then I fold down my pattern for the pocket and I'm going to cut diagonally for that. And then from here on out, I'm cutting it pretty normal, except I'm going to add 1 inch to the bottom of these pants because I'm taking off the cuff, but I still want them full length. Up next, I'm cutting the ties for my pants, and I'm actually cutting the full width of the fabric, but I'm making sure they're the width of the actual waistband. This will come in handy later. And then I'm cutting the front and the back waistband just like normal. The ties are going to be the same width because I want them to be coming up halfway up the waistband in just the front. So I'll show all that to you in a minute. Now here we're cutting the pockets. You need to have 2 square rectangle pockets with the pattern, and then you need to have 2 with the edges folded down to make the inside pocket and the outside pocket. So you need to have 4 total pieces, but 2 of this size and then 2 with it folded down. And you can see that right here. I will show you how to add these pockets on perfectly, but I love them because they're so deep and they're going to be pockets that you can use. You can see how they're going to turn out right there. Okay, so let's add these pockets on. So first step, you're going to lay your pants right sides out, and then you're going to take your pocket with the little edge cut off of it and you're going to lay it on top, and you have right sides together. Now from here, I'm going to take it over to my serger. I'm just going to sew on that edge, and then I like to top stitch it to make it a little more understitch it to make it a little more secure. So I'm just taking that serge line and I'm moving it over to the inside of that pocket. It's just no top stitch lines on the edge. I just think it looks a little smoother on this pair of pants. And then from here, I'm going to take those rectangles and I'm going to clip them on the outside and the bottom of my pants. Now from here, we're going to take these and we're going to serge where I have it clipped. And then we're going to go take it to my sewing machine. So I'm going to show you where to baste these because I feel like the perfect pockets always start with basting. So let me just show you how these look. And as you can see, everything folds in nicely. And then you're going to clip along that edge. And then you're going to
based on right along the edge of those pockets where they're folded, and then also along the top where you have it folded in as well. This will just help the waistband go on a lot nicer. Okay, from here, we're gonna be putting on at the back side of our pants. I like to do each leg separately. So I sew down the hip seam as well as the inseam. And then I fold one side pants, right sides together, and put it inside the pants that are turned inside out. And then I'm going to clip around the whole bowl. And this should line up really easily. And then as you look in, you can see the wrong sides out and the wrong sides out on the outside of these pants. So that means that your right sides are together. And then once I serge the bowl of these pants, I can pull one pant leg out of the other, and you can see how nicely these look. Now it's time to work on those ties. So that is our front and back waistband. The front waistband has the clip, and then I'm just folding over those pieces. That's the full length of the fabric, and then I cut it in half. And then I'm going to be serging one side closed and up the other side. And then once I turn those inside out, I want to have nice finished details. So I'm going to be top stitching those 1/4 of an inch all the way up and down. Now with my front side and my waistband, I've ironed it down, and I'm clipping in those ties right to where those iron marks are and just basting those in. So you can see them nice and attached here. This is so the seams are covered when I actually sew the back waistband and the front waistband together. So I've done that right there, and you can see my waistband is nice and complete. Now I'm going to make sure that those ties are facing my outside of my pants, and so they're going to be able to come out once I clip and then serge around my whole waistband. And here you can see that's completed as well. Now I want to make sure that my elastic is nice and tight, so I actually used a 1.5 elastic here because I feel like having the elastic tightly encased looks really nice. And as you can see, I'm securing my elastic with a box with an X in it. From here, I decided that a little top stitch on the edge would look really nice, so I did a 1/4 inch top stitch, and this is how they turned out. I love those deep pockets, and I think the ties are such a nice finished detail, and I feel like I can wear these with a variety of shoes. They're not just joggers.
All right. So for our second pair, we are going for trendy and classy. These are also extremely comfortable, but I took the paper bag pants, shortened the paper bag part of the pants this way because my torso is a little short. So you have those options when you're sewing them for yourself. Now looking at the pattern, I realized I did need to make a fuller bottom adjustment. So I'll show you how to do that as well. And I'll be showing you how to widen the legs so you have a nice wide leg paper bag pants.
So my fabric does not have really good stretch, and I don't think my bottom's going to fit in right here with not very stretchy fabric. So you can see I cut outside the line, and then I want these wide legs. So at the widest part of the pattern, I'm going to go straight down the whole entire leg. I'm doing the exact same thing on the inside seam to give these a little modern update. Now the front I'm cutting out just like the pattern has it because my rise is 10 inches. So you want to take the inseam of your pants if you're wearing jeans and go up to the smallest part of your waist, and that's where you want your paper bag to be sitting. So mine was 10 inches, but make sure you measure yours. But my waist is pretty short, my torso is. So instead of doing a 6-inch paper bag, as you can see here, I'm measuring it down to a 5 inch, just so the paper bag is not so wide on my torso. I think that will really help elongate my torso as well as my legs. So I already showed you how I construct pants, and so this is the exact same steps as I used on the first one, except for here we're adding the paper bag. I want to do a 1-inch elastic, and then I took chalk to measure it and mark it along the whole entire waistband. And then I'm just going to top stitch it. And then I also want to do a 1/4 inch top stitch along the top for a little more finishing detail. At this point, I'm adding in my 1-inch elastic, and you can see here, this paper bag is already looking so adorable. I'm closing at my elastic right here, and then these are actually the belt loops, and I turned them inside out because this fabric does not iron very well, and here I am top stitching. So I sewed them together inside out, and then I top stitched them. Now I'm cutting them 2 inches long, and I need a total of 5. And then I'm measuring from the edge of the pocket in 2 inches. And I'm going to be marking this on both sides. And then the other 2 belt loops will be going on the side seams, as well as the final belt loop will be going along the back seam. And then I sew them along the seam of the paper bag pants with the belt loop facing up. And then I can fold it over and then roll it and top stitch it along the seam along the bottom. And there you can see the belt loop. And I'm going to do this with all 5 of them, and look how nice they look. I love them with the belt. I think the tie looks great, but I have so many ties in my closet. I decided I wanted to do a really nice leather belt, and I do feel like they upgrade them. But you can also make the tie and have both choices.
This may be my last, but it's not my least. It's actually my favorite. So I've been seeing a lot of these really wide leg, gorgeous pants on everyone. And I decided I wanted to give that a try. So these pants are for the sweatpants lovers, but this is going to give you a luxurious comfort. So I took the Feel Pretty pants and I wanted to give it a little detail, and I've been seeing this detail on a lot of things. It's called a dart tuck. So in the center of my pant seam, I actually widened it by 3 inches so I could create a dart and then sew it down and then iron it flat. So this is a really fun, beautiful detail that's going to make these pants over the top. I did a pinstripe fabric with this that has really great stretch, and so it gave it such a comfortable pull-on pants. I still did not add any pockets to this because I didn't want anything pulling on those darts, but I have to say, this turned out to be the fastest sew of all of them. I did widen the legs, but you can decide if they're a little too wide for you, because these are definitely some wide leg pants that I am absolutely in love with.
Okay, so to widen these pants 3 inches, I'm going to be finding the center point of my pants. So my pants are, the front panel is 11 inches, so the middle part is going to be 5 inches, and then I'm going to be cutting along the edge of the pattern. From here, I'm going to be moving the pattern 3 inches over, but it's still lining up at the 5.5 inch mark with my chalk line. Now I'm cutting out everything in the front like normal. And then I'm going to be adding 2 more chalk lines, 1.5 inches from the first chalk line. So I have one at 7 and one at 8.5 inches. And then I want them to be 3 inches deep. Now I'm going to be taking those 2 outside chalk lines, bringing them together. And so the middle chalk line is in the center. I'm going to be sewing it down on the chalk line and back stitching, because I am not taking this stitch out. I'm also using a lightning stitch here, making sure it's going to be extra secure. Now you can see what it looks like with it sewn together, and I'm going to be bringing that piece down, and you can see how it lines up with the original pattern width. So we're just adding in that pleat. Now I widened the legs in my pants, and if you like them that wide, I suggest going straight down instead of having them curve in. If you feel like my pants are too wide, definitely follow the pattern. I want these pants more like kind of a sweatpant feel, so I'm actually cutting out the waistband at 3 inches wide because I want to use a 1 inch elastic. And then I'm going to be sewing up the inseam and the outer seam of these pants, just like I did with the other ones. And then I'm going to be adding on that smaller waistband. And then here's my 1 inch elastic that should fit perfectly in the waistband casing. Now from here, I'm just going to be roll hemming the edge of these pants. I actually rolled hem all of these pants, and here you can see those adorable pleats. I love these pants. They are so comfortable, but they look extra classy. I did wear these the other day, and I have to say they're just adorable. Like, I think I'm going to be living in these. I hope you definitely give these pants a try. Look at that waistband, so comfortable.
All right, so my final remarks. I love all 3 of these pants. I am getting so excited every week. I am excited to sew something new for my capsule. Like, I am losing sleep because I'm so excited. I hope you grab your fabric and come along with this journey with me, figuring out your personal style. If you don't want to do the full capsule, feel free to take whatever pants you like from this video and make them. Put in the comments what your favorite is. Like and subscribe would be amazing. And as always, have a wonderful day.